To get started, you should have downloaded the Lesson 5 folder from the class page. We'll double-click on the L5 Start Adobe Illustrator file and open it up directly in Illustrator. If you haven't done so already, make sure to go up to Window and that you're working in the Essentials workspace, and if necessary, you can reset your Essentials tools to go back to their original intent. Let's also go up to File and down to Save As, and inside of this folder, let's rename this the Vacation_Ads and make sure to put your name on it. We'll keep the format Adobe Illustrator and hit Save and say OK to the options from there. Now, the first thing we want to do is to play around with some of the custom-sized artboards. If you need to, let's go up to Window and down to Fit Artboard in Window. That should put our basic first little artboard nice and large inside of your window. We can do Command or Control and the minus sign and back out a little bit, and you can see that there's some other artwork around the area. If you hold down the space bar, notice that your cursor turns into a little hand icon, and this will let you quickly and easily drag over till we can see this tree on the right-hand side. Now, with nothing selected, and we've got our selection tool selected, open up your Properties panel, and notice in the Properties panel where we can edit the artboards. With Edit Artboards selected, your cursor changes into the Artboard tool, and this lets you click and drag over this area to create a new artboard. With that artboard still selected, we can also change the name of it to our City Vacation, Add, and if we want to give it a custom height and width, we can set the width of it to be 336 pixels and the height of it to be 280 pixels. So at any time, you can customize the look and feel of any selected artboard right here in your Properties panel. Now at any time, if you need to adjust the position of this artboard, you can always click on it and drag it to give it a little bit more room. Notice that by default, whenever you have an artboard that's got artwork on it, it's going to automatically move the artwork with it. If you want to make another artboard to be the exact same size, inside of the Properties panel, click on the little plus sign and notice that it creates a new artboard right beside it. Let's rename this new artboard our Mountain Vacation, Add, and click OK for that. I'm going to zoom out a bit and slide over so I can see everything. And I'm going to move this second artboard, technically the third artboard we made, over here to this side of our design. At any time, if you wish to exit the artboard editing mode, you can go up to the top and click the exit button. That'll take you back into normal editing mode. Now, if you do choose to use the artboard tool, once it's selected, notice that it turns your properties back into those properties. You can also select existing artboards, for instance, this one for Unforgettable Beaches, and we can drag the bottom portion up until it snaps to the artwork right here at the very bottom. Now, if you need to delete an artboard, let's scroll over to this first one that we created and select it. You can then hit the delete key, and it completely deletes the artboard, but not the artwork that's on it. Finally, to exit the artboard mode, you can also select any other tool, for instance, your selection tool, and that goes back into normal editing mode. Hey, with this tool, let's drag this little tree down and out of the way and see if we can focus on cleaning up our workspace. Another thing you can do with artboards is copy them from one document into another. Let's go up to File and down to Open and select the Bus AI Illustrator document. When you say Open, notice that the color of this bus is slightly different from the original that we're working on. That'll come into play in just a minute. Let's choose our Artboard tool, and with the artboard selected, let's go up to Edit and Copy. Finally, we can close out our document, and we won't save any of the changes. Hit Don't Save. And then with the Artboard tool still selected, let's go up to Edit and Paste. Notice that when it pastes, it'll attempt to place it beside your existing artboard, and it'll give you a color swatch conflict issue. In this case, let's merge the swatches together and let's apply it to all of the swatches and say OK. This will place it in here, And if we open up our swatches panel by going to Window, down to Swatches, this will show us all of the color swatches now that have been merged into this design. We can close that out. Now with the Artboard tool still selected, hold down the Shift key and select all of the other 3 artboards. So each of these are now selected. If we wanted them to be arranged nice and across evenly at top of one another, in the Properties panel, let's select the Align Vertical Top. Notice when you do this, it moves everything up, but we accidentally had some artwork that was locked down. So we need to undo what we did and unlock the artwork before we make this change. Let's go up to Edit and Undo Align. Then we can go to Object and let's unlock all the artwork. Now, one more time with everything still selected, when we go to Align, everything is moved up and everything was unlocked, so the artwork moved with it. Finally, if we want these artboards to be arranged in a certain order, at the bottom of your Properties panel, choose Rearrange All. You can choose how you want things to be arranged, and we're just going to keep it arranged by row, but let's set the spacing to be 40 pixels. We can say OK to this, and now this rearranges our artwork with a spacing of 40 pixels between all of them. Notice that it also put them in numerical order, placing this one first, this one second, and our newest artboard third over to the side. While we're here, let's select just this first artboard, and then go over to the Artboard options, and let's rename this one from the default Artboard 1 to Beach Vacation Add. You could also see here is where we can change up the size and width and all the different options for the artboard. We'll simply say OK. Finally, let's select our Selection black arrow move tool and deselect any artwork we have selected. The next thing we want to talk about is creating some guides. If you don't see your rulers at the top and left-hand side of your screen, you can always go up to View and down to Show Rulers, which is under the Rulers, Show Rulers here. Command R is a good keyboard shortcut to know. Let's select the text for Unforgettable Beaches. Let's go up to View and down to Fit Artboard to Window to zoom into that artboard. Then to make sure everything is deselected, let's go up to Select and deselect everything. To create a guideline, the first thing we need to do is to change our rulers from being in pixels or points that it's currently in to inches. Going back over to your Properties panel, let's set our units to be inches. And then finally, to create a guide, click on the vertical ruler that's on the left-hand side and drag till it's about ½ of an inch away from here. It's okay if it's off by a little bit. With the guide still selected and it's highlighted blue, if you wanted to dial it in a specific place, you can go over to your X and Y location. In this case, it'll be the X location. Let's type in 0.25 and hit return, and that will automatically lock it in on that ½ inch right there. Now, one thing to note about the rulers, whenever you have an artboard selected, the 0 point is always up at this top left-hand corner. So notice 0, 0 on your rulers. If I was to zoom out, let's go up to View, down to Fit All in Window to see all of them. If I was to select this artboard, notice now this artboard has 0 and 0 at the top corner of its edge. This means I can make any artwork relative to any point on whatever artboard I have selected. So with this one selected, let's click on the artwork that's below here, so this little untouched beauty artwork. With it selected, we'll put it at the very top corner by going over to our Properties panel. Set your top left reference point to be the selected. Let's set the X and Y location to be 0 and 0 and hit return. Notice it moves it up and over and into place. It is overlapping a good bit, so let's hold down the Shift key as we click and drag this bottom edge and drag it in till it fits nicely on the bottom edge of your artboard. All right, now let's select the text for Unforgettable Beaches one more time and do Command 0 to zoom into that artboard. By default, whenever you have something selected, it always has a little bounding box around it. Sometimes that bounding box kind of gets in the way. If you ever want to turn it off, go up to View and down to Hide Bounding Box, which is set right here. This will turn it off, but still keep everything selected. From here, we can then click on the words. Let's drag it over using our little guides to let it line up nicely along this edge. Then to turn back on your bounding box, you can go back up to View and choose Show Bounding Box. Let's go up to View and down to Fit All in Window to view everything. Then down towards the bottom, let's click and drag and select this first little plant. With it selected, let's go hold down your Command or Control key and the plus sign, and notice that it will zoom into it. If we want to show the edges or hide the edges, you can also go up to View and down to Hide Edges. That will turn off the selection of the edges, but still have it selected. Then with it still selected, let's go back over to our Properties panel. Let's scale this down by changing up the width or the height of it. First, we want to make sure both the width and the height are linked together. Then let's highlight the width and let's type in 40%. When you hit return, it will automatically readjust the height and the width of it and scale it down by 40%. Now we can turn back on our edges by going up to View and down to Show Edges. Let's go back up to View and also down to View all the artwork in the window. Let's click on this rightmost little palm tree over on this side, and we'll zoom into it by doing Command and 0 to bring it up. Next, if we want to rotate an object, there are several different ways we can do this, but there is a rotation tool hiding in your toolbox. If you don't see it, it may be hiding underneath one of these other ones, or you can hit the R key to automatically select Rotate. Now, by default, with this tool selected, it will always rotate on a central axis. In this case, it's right in the center of our artwork. This means if we rotated it, it would rotate that way. We want to be able to move this downward by clicking on it and dragging it down to the bottom center of our artwork. Now, when we click and drag, we can get it to lean just a little bit off to the side. That's looking good. It's almost as if the van accidentally hit it and then backed up a bit. Another way you can transform different things is by using some of the Transform Each options. Let's choose our Selection tool and then carefully click on one of the clouds here, hold down Shift and select the second clouds, then hold down Shift one more time and get the third clouds. Now, we don't want to scale all of these down from any one particular point. We want all of these to scale down individually. Go up to Object, down to Transform, and let's do Transform Each. This will allow us to scale down each individual one rather than them all as one individual group. Here's what I mean. Let's set the vertical scale and the horizontal scale for both of these to be 70%, and make sure the central point is selected. With that done, when we turn on preview or on and off preview, let's make sure 70 is also for the horizontal and vertical. There we go. Now when we say OK, return on preview, you can see they're all scaling down from their own central points. Let's zoom into this first window. Notice how the other windows have a little tinted highlight to them. Let's create one inside of this area. To do this, let's grab our rectangle tool. With the rectangle tool selected, make sure your fill color is set to white and the stroke is set to none. We'll click and drag from the top edge of this downward to create a simple little rectangle. To skew it, we're actually going to use what's known as the shear tool. Don't know why they call it shear when it's really skewing what we're doing. This is located underneath the rectangle tool. And with it selected, remember you've got a central point or axis that's going to be in the center of this. If you click and drag and hold the Shift key, this will constrain it. And let's do it till it's about 40 degrees, right about there. Now with it set, let's lower the opacity of it. Going back over to your Properties panel, Set your opacity to be about 60%. To make a copy of this and move it over slightly, with it still selected, let's go up to Object, down to Transform, and let's do a Move Transformation. In this case, we can dial in exactly how far we want it to be moved across. Let's set the horizontal position to be 0.12. We'll keep the vertical position at 0, and whatever distance is already going to be set up from there. The angle will automatically be set. Rather than hitting OK, click on Copy to make a copy of it, and notice that it's moved over. To make it slightly smaller, let's go up and choose our Direct Selection tool, the white arrow tool. Let's hover over this anchor point on the top right, hold down the Shift key, and get the bottom right one as well. Then use your arrow keys to nudge it over to make it slightly thinner. With this done, let's do Command and the minus sign and back, all the way back out. Then you can use your Zoom tool just to give some practice on this, and let's zoom in on the little plant that's down here at the bottom. I'm going to grab my black arrow selection tool. This time, let's select just the plant and not the little black area at the bottom. With it selected, one more time, let's go up to Object, and let's go down to Repeat. And in this case, we're going to be doing a mirror repeating. This will repeat it on that particular side. Now notice that you get a line going down your screen and a couple of different handles on the top, bottom, and the center. The center handle lets you change the distance between the central axis. Let's bring it in so that there's no overlap and it's right there along the edge. Now if you click the top or the bottom angle, you can see how you can copy it over on a specific angle. And if necessary, you can change that angle over here on the side. Let's put it back to 0, the way the Lord intended. Whoops, excuse me, not 0. Let's set it to 90 degrees, the way the Lord intended. Now, as long as you're working in this mode, any edits that you make are automatically going to be mirrored to this object. So for instance, if we were to select one of the leaves and hold down the Option key and make a copy of it, you can see how it's copied. Then we can click and drag, and let's make it a little bit smaller and off to this edge too. Additionally, you can select one and double click to go into isolation mode. And let's open up our stroke options and let's make our fill options a lighter green. Then we can double click again to go out of isolation mode and also go out of the repeating mode. Now it locks in that repeating object back and forth. Let's group this with the oval at the bottom by clicking and dragging over the entire thing and go up to Object and down to Group. Let's zoom back out and let's place this little guy up here in front of the van. Oops, we can see that it's behind everything. So let's go up to Object, Arrange, and let's bring it to the front. Now it's looking good. And again, let's put it over here on the right side of this van. I'm going to nudge it downward right about there. That looks good. The final technique we'll use is to pin down our artwork and make some puppet warp editing. Once again, let's go up to our Unforgettable Beaches and let's select the palm tree that we placed. With it selected, let's go up to View and down to let's go up to Window, down to our toolbars and choose our Advanced Toolbars. From here, we can find the tool we need hiding under the Free Transform tool. Choose the Puppet Warp tool. With Puppet Warp, notice that it automatically adds this little triangular mesh on top of the artwork, and it puts some little dots inside of it. These dots allow you to edit and warp your existing picture. If you want to get rid of a dot, you can select it and deselect it. Then we can click anywhere. Let's put one here at the bottom to pin it down. Let's put one here in the middle to pin it in the middle. Let's put one here at the top of the tree to pin it at the top. Now with this done, you can click and drag and start to make edits to your artwork. It automatically warps exactly what you see. If you want to rotate an object, simply select the pin and then click on this outer edge to rotate it into place. Notice that when it warps, it'll also warp all of the vector points as you need. You can click on any other point to add more points to it to be able to straighten out and readjust your artwork without having to redraw the entire thing. In order to commit to this transformation, simply choose your selection tool and then click away to deselect it. With this, we can now go up to File and down to Save Our Document and turn in this Adobe Illustrator document to the Classroom page.